everyone, and welcome to the Dribble podcast, your home for basketball in WA, with an inside look at the Perth Wildcats, Perth Lynx, and WA basketball throughout the 2021-22 seasons. My name is Craig O'Donoghue from the West Australian newspaper, and throughout this year, I'll be joined by a host of guests to provide you with as much insight and entertainment as your basketball brain can handle. In this week's episode, we head overseas, where we'll be joined by dual Perth Wildcats championship winner and Olympic bronze medalist Nick Kay as he prepares to lead a young Boomers team in Japan. And we'll also be joined by Perth Lynx assistant coach and former Wildcats captain Brad Robbins after the team emerged from quarantine to begin their road back to playing. Speaking of quarantine, we usually conduct the Dribble podcast from the recording studios at 7 West Media in Osborne Park. But a positive COVID case at my son's school has him classified as a close contact, and I'm isolating at home as we await the result of his test. So if you hear the dog barking, my son yelling, or think the audio sounds different, that's why. Now, it was a big week for the Wildcats and Lynx as WA Premier Mark McGowan announced the border will come down on March 3. That means the Wildcats can come home early to see their families before heading back on the road again. And it means the Lynx can host games for the first time in more than 2 years. One of the challenges from the hosting side of things for the Wildcats is the 75% capacity, which will mean that not everyone who normally attends will be able to go, and they are still working through that. We can also expect them to start working through whether or not they have to make a roster change as pressure mounts on them with the rebounding situation and with Michael Fraser II not having the impact required by most imports. Having him move to the bench from the starting five was a bad sign on Saturday, and staying on the bench for all but 42 seconds of the final quarter, despite Vic Law being stuck on the sidelines with his jersey torn, would have Fraser extremely worried. And that brings us to our first guest this week, and wouldn't the Wildcats love to have this man dominating the boards like he did during 2 championship-winning seasons?
Kay has to take it. You can't leave him free. He's too good. It's been hot from the outset. 12 rebounds now for Nick Kay. Kay from outside this time, and he gets it to go. Nick Kay, Nick Special Kay.
Yes, Nick Special Kay, welcome to the Dribble podcast.
Cheers, mate, and good to be on here.
So you're in Japan at the moment, ahead of another Boomers campaign. You haven't joined them yet. You'll be going up in a couple of days. So this is your second Boomers campaign, or your first Boomers campaign since the Olympics. When you look back on that now, what's the biggest memory that you love the most?
I mean, it's too tough to go past that bronze medal game. Just at the end of it, being able to celebrate and the emotion of winning that bronze and being with the guys and staying on that podium, never forget that. And, I mean, that feeling's just going to stick with me forever and can't wait to get back out there and put on the green and gold again.
So was there ever any doubt about you committing to this campaign, given it's a younger group that you'll be leading when you get over there, and there's been a lot of players who've been unavailable? Were you always going to play in this, especially given it is in Japan where you're living?
Yeah, I think I put my hand up straight away to be a part of it. I knew that there was a chance that other guys weren't going to be able to do it and stuff, but wearing the green and gold is something special to me. It's something that as a kid you grow up wanting to do, and you never know when it's going to be your last opportunity or if you'll get the chance again. So I'm always going to put my hand up and try and be involved wherever I can. And I can't wait to get back out there and play with this new group of guys and hopefully come away with a few wins.
How much has being part of the Boomers changed your basketball life? Because when you joined the Wildcats, you were a bloody good player, but it felt like the world didn't figure out you're a really good player until that World Cup campaign. Yeah,
I mean, that World Cup was a massive step for me. I think kind of opened my eyes up to basketball outside of Australia and the opportunities that are out there and how much further I had to grow as a player to compete on that world stage. And it's definitely been beneficial to me. It's changed, I guess, the course of my career. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity and going to keep trying to push and get better and better. So more opportunities present themselves.
Where is your bronze medal? What did you do with it? Have you kept it with you? Have you sent it back home to the family? What do you do with the bronze medal when you come home from the Olympics?
First thing you do is you keep it as safe as possible. I was too scared to send it back. I wanted to keep it with me and somewhere I knew it would be. So it's tucked away in my room, and it's going to stay there until I get back to Oz, and it can go in a nice safe spot because, I mean, that's a prized possession right there, something that I'll never let go of.
Have you got other memorabilia from the Olympics that you can all frame up and make it look really specky up on the wall somewhere?
Yeah, for sure. A few jerseys that are signed and stuff, and I guess they're the big things. You just kind of want those little memorabilias here and there just to commemorate something that's as special as that. And hopefully there's a few more things to go up there with it as time goes on.
So this time around, instead of teaming up with Paddy Mills and Joe Ingles and these sorts of guys, it's very much a younger group, but there's some really familiar names from Wildcats fans' perspective. Angus Brandt, Reece Vague are both part of the squad. They're also playing in Japan in a different sort of level to you at the moment. Gus is averaging 17 points and 10 rebounds. Reece is averaging 12 points and 8 rebounds. Do you have much of a contact with them over there, and how much you're looking forward to playing with them again?
Yeah, I talked to them a fair bit. Obviously, we're going through similar things being over here, and they've obviously had an extra year of experience in Japan than me. So we talk a fair bit. I was pushing for them to make sure that they could be a part of it and wanted to be here and stuff. And I can't wait to catch up with them. I went and spend a weekend with them back in November just to watch them play and hang out with them. And it'll be good to actually get to play alongside them again, because it's been a while since we played together at Perth, and can't wait to see how they're going on the court as well.
Well, you don't play against them. There is another Wildcat in your league who is very prominent in terms of how he's performing and how Wildcat fans should remember him, and that's John Mooney. But you didn't get to play against him in the first couple of games when you came up against the Chiba Jets. Now, bearing in mind you might play them during the playoffs later this year, do you think he didn't play in that because he's scared of you?
I wish that was the case. Obviously, you want to go up against the best players and stuff, and he had a tremendous season in Perth, and I was looking forward to – that was our first game of the season. I was looking forward to going up and competing against him and the Chiba team, because, they're the top of the league over here. They're a team that I think they won it last year. So to go up against them to start off the season, I was looking forward to that. And for him not to play, it's a shame, but it also helped us go 1-1 to start that weekend. So hopefully the chance presents itself again. And hopefully, if we can get there together in the grand final and go up against it, it'd be a hell of a game.
He's going pretty well, John. He's averaging 15 and 11, which certainly sounds like a John Mooney sort of game, and that included 28 points and 19 rebounds recently. He's certainly a player that the Wildcats could do, and they could do with you at the moment as well, averaging 13 points and 8 rebounds this season. Last year was in Spain in a different sort of a role as well. How different is playing both in Europe and in Japan to when you're playing in the NBL in terms of style and expectation? Yeah,
it's huge. Obviously, European style in Spain in particular is a lot more set dominated, and I guess the variety in top teams to lower teams is huge over there, which you don't necessarily have in the NBL, where it's such an even competition throughout. So that was probably the first thing, and having to adjust to, I guess, being off the ball a lot more. In Japan, a little bit different itself. Even just some of the rules in terms of you got 3 imports per team, but only 2 can be on the court at once. So you're probably only going to play a max of 27 minutes a game, just so the rotations are there, and you've just got to be able to get used to finding your role and finding ways to help and creating that opportunity in that time.
That import rule is really unique, isn't it? Like there's so many countries have different rules around their imports, and there's even height rules in some countries. So how does the coach handle the rotations when you're trying to work out how to get your imports in the right positions?
Yeah, it's tough. Thankfully, we got a great coach over here, Paul Henare, who was in the NBL for a long time, player and coach, and he's been great with the group of guys. He's really helped the club develop from where they were last year to where they are now, and we got a tough end of the season come ahead, but we're in a good spot right now. I think we're sitting second in our conference, so we're just going to have to push hard and try to keep that rhythm and winning streak going.
Your name was well and truly back in front of Wildcats fans' minds the other day when you were named in the 40th anniversary team. Big honour to be named in the best 10 players in the club's dynamic history. What did that mean to you?
It's a huge honour. I think I put it out there, like, I would not want to be the guy having to pick that team and stuff. The amount of quality players that have been for the Wildcats and the success the club has had. I guess it just shows when you look at that list how many quality players and people that the club has had in its tradition, and how each of those players have helped impact the club and make it go from strength to strength. So there's so many good players. I'm looking there and I'm looking at guys like Jesse and stuff, and you just wonder how he doesn't make it. But I guess it just shows you how good the team is. And I had him in there over me. So it just depends how it's going, but it is a huge honour.
You put out some social media stuff afterwards to thank people for being selected in that team, and mentioned in there that you'd love to play for the group again. Is that realistic? Can you see yourself coming back to the NBL?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, Australia's home. I'm going to try and get back there. Obviously, right now, just with the point of my career, I'm trying to experience a few different things and get around and see a few different places and stuff, and try to set myself up as well. So I'd love to get back, and hopefully it's only a few years or a couple of years or a few years away, and I'd love to be able to return to Perth, where I've got a home. My fiance's family's from there and stuff, and I mean, the club's the best in the league, and I'd love to be a part of that again.
But it's certainly not something for 2023 or 2024. It's a fair way down the track. Is that what you're saying? You want to continue doing the overseas stuff for now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far away. It could be a couple of years, could be a few years, but I would love to get back, and maybe it is in a couple of years, and it just depends where I'm at in that point of my career. And also, I mean, when you're talking about families and stuff, things change and the world changes, as we've seen in the past couple of years. So I'm never going to close the door to anything, and I've got great relationships with a lot of guys there. So always reaching out and talking to guys, and hopefully that comes about again.
From a living perspective, how difficult is it moving countries and having to adjust to just the language, the lifestyle, the cultures that you're now being faced with as you move around the world and have to learn different things?
Yeah, huge challenge. I mean, language is the first one. You change in places and you finally start to pick up a little bit of the language at a place, and then you move somewhere else and it's complete. You start from scratch again. So, and then obviously food, the way the cultural acceptances and stuff in different places and that. But I mean, that's part of the experience of traveling the world and stuff as well. I wouldn't have this experience if it wasn't for basketball, and I'm enjoying that aspect of going from Spain to Japan and to different places. So basketball's definitely opened my eyes up to a lot of different cultures around the world, and very grateful for that opportunity.
And we've seen the impact it's had on your career on the court for the Boomers. Like, where are you a better player, do you feel, now as a result of playing in multiple roles in multiple countries?
Yeah, I think the ability to adjust has been a huge thing. When you're playing one system or style for a long time, you can get comfortable. Moving to different teams in different countries, there's a lot of different variations, and it's definitely helped me understand myself as an individual and the way I play the game, and helped me pick up on a lot of new little things as well that has been fun and really helping me play better basketball.
And speaking with Wildcats people, when the roster positions open up each year and they go, we always say, any chance of getting him back? And a lot of the time they say, he'd be crazy to come back at the moment because financially he can earn so much more overseas. Is it that much more lucrative to play overseas than what the NBL can currently provide?
I think it depends on situations, where you are and what you're trying to do with your career. Obviously, little things like the way you get paid is a big thing. Agent fees, tax, all these little things come into consideration. And obviously, that's why you got your accountants, your agents and that have to sort all this stuff out for you and that. But right now, yeah, I'm just trying to kind of set myself up the best I can. And at this stage, it means being over in Japan for this season, and we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, still, you only get a certain amount of time to build your life as an athlete, so you've got to make the most of it the entire time. And as much as the Wildcats would love you right now, they don't have you, but there are other players who are filling in those roles for the team as we go through the Dribble podcast MVP votes. From the loss to Sydney, I went 1 vote to Luke Travers for coming off the bench, giving the team a spark with 16 points, 5 rebounds and 2 blocks. 2 votes to Nick's good mate Mitch Norton for 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists and an early rolled ankle, just to be standard Mitch Norton getting injured some point during a game. And 3 votes went to Bryce Cotton for his 33 points and 8 3-pointers. It was quite a remarkable performance by him. Now, I imagine one of the more disappointing elements for you in terms of playing overseas is you haven't got to see your grandfather all that much, and he was a really important part of your career over here. We saw him driving around the country just to watch you play. Like, what's it been like to be separated from that sort of a relationship?
Yeah, that's a tough thing. Not being able to be around family is one of the challenging aspects of being overseas. I mean, I haven't been home in 2 years, and I'm just looking forward to getting back and seeing him. And I know that if they were able to travel and do all this stuff, they'd be over here supporting, watching games and doing all that stuff. But thankfully, the way technology is these days, I'm FaceTiming at least 2-3 times a week him and having chats and stuff. And then your family, fiance, everyone that you can think of, you're just reaching out to these people, and it's made it a lot easier, that's for sure.
So tell me about the bond you two have, because as I said, he was living in Perth for extended periods despite being from over the other side of the country, and it was just to see you. Yeah,
so it even started before that. I think it all came down to he had some health issues in his early 50s, and he was basically all but bedridden through arthritis, wasn't able to really move or anything, and kind of found a way through basketball and the way I was playing to travel, get out and about, and just said, I'm going for it. I'm going to do all these things and push myself. And it happened to be at the time where he started to get a bit better from it all. And basically that was a bond that we started creating. It got even stronger. And next thing, he was over in the States, I think 8 times in the 4 years I was there. And then anytime he gets a chance, he's got the block mattress out or doing whatever he can to come stay where he can and support us. So we got a great relationship, me and him. And he's always there for a bit of advice, whether it's wanted or not at different points. But love him to death, and I can't wait to get to see him again.
Any chance that he could head to Japan, or is that just not realistic at his age with COVID around the world?
Yeah, I don't know if he'll get here this season, just with border restrictions and whatnot, even over in Japan right now. They're pretty tight on a lot of this stuff, but hopefully I'll definitely see him when I get back to Oz, and then he'll without a doubt, he'll be wherever I go next year. He'll come for a visit for sure.
And when you look to the next weekend where you'll be playing, obviously, for the Boomers, who are you looking forward to playing with when you don't really know a lot of the guys, I'd imagine, in that group? With that young team at the moment, is there anyone who you've had a bit of contact with or you've watched so far and you go, that'd be really cool to link up with them?
Yeah, I haven't had a lot to do with a lot of these guys. Obviously, guys like Proctor and stuff, I'm interested just to see their game and see how it's going to translate and be involved in trying to help him show how good he is on the international stage. And then, I mean, a guy like Emmett Nah, he's such a smart point guard that gets guys involved and stuff. And, I mean, if you've got a good relationship with your point guard, it makes your life a lot easier as a big. So looking forward to sending some good screens for him and working together on that aspect.
You know anything about Kyle Zunic, who's been playing his trade over here at the Wildcats?
A little bit. I've been talking to Nordo and stuff, and he said he's a hell of a player. So keen to see him get over here and stuff. And keen to hear some of the stories about the boys that they've been keeping quiet from me. So that'll be good. And you obviously still have a really strong relationship with Mitch and staying in touch as much as you can in between you trying to play and him trying to play at the same time. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a bit of an NBL hopeless fan. I pretty much watch every game that comes on, especially the Wildcats when they're playing and stuff. And watching them the other night, it's great to see Nordo hitting those threes and the way he's playing and getting guys involved. So just seeing his development on the court and the way it's being appreciated by people throughout the league, it's great to see. And, I mean, we're talking all the time, so it's been good. Can you see them winning it, or do you think they need to make some changes to the roster to make themselves better? Where do you see their squad at from what you've seen so far? I think they're in a great spot. Obviously, I think they're, 8-4 right now. They're in, I think, second or something, and they've positioned themselves really well. Obviously, it's still early in the season. They've got a good home patch to come, and all you got to do, you got to make the top 4, then try and get those top 2 spots, and you can get some home court games. So you just got to be peaking at the right time of year. Trevor used to always say that when I was there. It's just about ticking those little milestones off as you go, and they're in a good spot to do that this year. Well, we have a segment here on the Dribble podcast called This or That. Can't sit on the fence, got to come in with a real answer. And this week we're going to look at unwritten rules. There was a big blow-up and a big story in America after Michigan coach Juwan Howard took offence to Wisconsin taking a timeout late in the game when the score was well and truly over. The game wasn't going to be won as a result of any late segments or late shots. So the brawl erupted as a result of the disrespect that he took from that. Are you a fan of unwritten rules in sport, or do you reckon people should just live by the actual written rules? What do you think it should be? Have unwritten or just follow the real ones? I think some unwritten rules are needed just in general sport. So I'll keep it basic and say, yeah, unwritten rules are good. Yeah, it does tend to keep games in check, that's for sure at the moment. But look, thank you very much for joining us from Japan. It's really good to catch up. Every time I've had a chance to speak since you've been overseas, it's been great, and we really enjoyed it. I know that Wildcats fans have enjoyed watching you play, and that Olympic bronze medal was just outstanding. So hopefully things go really well for you in Japan. Hopefully things go really well for you for the Boomers, and then in a few years' time we can get you back here in the red uniform again. I appreciate it, man. All the sports definitely appreciated, and looking forward to hopefully watching those Wildcats get another win this year.
And now it's time to enter the lair, and Perth Lynx are on top of the WNBL ladder and sitting tight, waiting for another opportunity to play. One man who has experienced a bizarre return to the national level is Lynx assistant coach and former Wildcats captain Brad Robbins. Brad, welcome to the Dribble podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Back in Perth, out of quarantine, all these sorts of things must make you feel pretty good about life again.
Yeah, I must admit it. I mean, look, it was 7 days in quarantine. So it could have been worse than what it was, but there's only so many NBA games you can watch. There's only so much Netflix you can watch. There's only so much work you can do before you go on bonkers. So I'm very, very happy to be out now and see the family and see some friends and back into a bit of normality.
So were you able to train with the girls who were trying to get on court last week just to get out of the house, or was there some restrictions around the coaching side of things as well?
No, well, we're all under the same quarantine rules, so we were able to get in between specific times, and we were able to have team practices with the girls. But then, obviously, we're straight back into protocol. We're straight back into our home isolation or home quarantine.
So how are you handling Sammy and Darcy at the moment, given they're on a different timeline to what you guys are? And do they come in before you, or do they come in after you, or on different days? What's the setup?
They've currently been coming in after us. So typically everybody else is out. The main group's already out the door before they come in. But, my advice to the girls has been, hey, you've had a busy couple of weeks. Maybe take maybe 3 or 4 extra days that you've got just to rest the body. But you try telling Sammy Whitcomb that, and she if she would have keys to the door if she could. And Darcy's very, very similar too. So the girls have been working out in their own time, and they'll rejoin the team later in the week. You're
a really interesting person, I reckon, when it comes to COVID impact sport, given that you work in the mental health field in your day job. How tough has it been for players, and what have you done to try to help them through this?
The toughest thing, and I can speak from my own experience as well, is to on top of the isolation, you feel isolated yourself, potentially from within, and I know I certainly do. So my advice has been to keep active, keep busy, get yourself into a routine. I was speaking to a couple of the Wildcats guys, and they've been going through a similar thing over East, and routine has just been the biggest thing for them. So, waking up, go have your coffee, read the paper, or read a book or whatnot outside. Make sure you get in some exercise, off to training if you're able to do that. Back into the quarantine, making sure you're catching up with people, making sure you're talking to people, just to feel so that you're not, sitting on the couch watching Netflix and almost have that isolation on top of isolation. It was only 7 days, but for me that was critical, just to make sure that I'm constantly on the go and constantly active.
What about when you're in Ballarat as a team and you're playing every second or third day and you're travelling, and they didn't really get a chance to live a life because of the worry about COVID, but they're trying to prepare for elite sport? What was the focus on trying to avoid people just losing their minds with the worry and the stress?
Well, and I can't speak on behalf of all the girls, but I think living over there for 6.5, nearly 7 weeks, you felt the fear kind of dissipated a little bit. It became the norm that you just sort of had to live with COVID. And I think that's a little bit different than living over here. I feel like at times, I know I certainly felt it before we left, that you kind of live in fear because we're in this little bubble. Whereas when, we're over East and you're in Victoria and it's just riddled with COVID, and obviously everybody's getting back to normal and trying to live through this thing, I've almost had that a little bit of confidence in myself, just that this is the way life has to be, and not to dwell on it, and I mean, what can you do other than just keep moving forward with life and your everyday, actions?
Now, when you look back, it's been almost 10 years since you finished playing. Your career was obviously brought to a really premature end with injuries. How do you reflect on it now? Because there's a lot of blokes who used to be playing at your age.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I retired very prematurely, and it's something that I still struggle with to this day. I actually took quite a hiatus from basketball for about sort of 4 or 5 years before dipping my toes into coaching. I was assistant coach in an NBL 1 program. I then came back and played in 2019, actually, with my brother-in-law, Greg Heyer, just in the NBL 1 or SBL back then. And then picked up the coaching again. So it's been a bit of a journey for me. But basketball was something that always grounded me, you know, and it was something that it was that routine that I had every single day. It was the reason to get out of bed in the morning, and something that I really loved and has been such a massive part of my life. So to be able to sort of go full circle now and be a part of a professional program such as the Lynx, it's really sort of probably taken away that bitterness that I might have had for ending so prematurely in my career.
Was the bitterness because of what happened afterwards with the team just going on a run and suddenly becoming the most dominant team in the country, and you missed out on that? Or was it was the bitterness because you weren't able to do the fun part of life, which was play?
Look, I'd be lying if I said that every time they won it didn't hurt, because it absolutely did. I'm just grateful that I was able to win one with the guys in 2009, 2010, I think it was. But no, absolutely. But on the same, you know, all jokes aside, these are my brothers. I'm really close with a lot of the guys that went through, your Jesse Wagstaffs, your Damien Martins, your Greg Hires. So I was obviously over the moon for those guys, and I still like to think that I had somewhat, you know, something to do with the culture of the place, and as do your Vlahovs, your Fishers, your Ricky Graces, etc., your Paul Rogers. You know, that culture is such a strong culture embedded at the Wildcats, and I'd like to have, I think, you know, I have a little bit of peace that I potentially had something to do with that as well. So it's not all bitterness, but look, if I could do my time again, obviously I would love to be playing and to be able to get on court and you know, Jesse Wagstaff just played his 401 was it games, and yeah, absolutely would love to be on that side of the fence too.
You have transitioned now towards coaching, and it started at SBL, NBL 1 West sort of level as an assistant. Now you're doing the assistant work under Ryan Petrick. How much enjoyment have you taken from this pathway and the way it can take you into a different part of basketball?
Yeah, it's such a different way to look at the game. As a player, for me anyway, you kind of feel your way through the game, and you know when guys aren't getting touches, and you kind of know, well, this offense has been working the last couple of times down the floor, or maybe we need to mix up the defense. And it's all from a feeling perspective, whereas a coach is so analytical, and you've really, really got to know your X's and O's, and you've got to see the floor a lot differently. You see the floor from the sideline, basically, as opposed to obviously being on the floor. I've felt at times as a coach being on the sideline, you feel a little bit disconnected in that you can't come on and impact the game the same way you would if you were playing. You know, you can't dive on a loose ball. You can't go up and get a stop. You can't make a big three. You've really, really got to put, I think, I have a lot of faith in the players on the floor, and you've really just got to give them the reins and say, here, this is the game plan, and you girls go out there and you do it. Ryan Petrick, incredible. I've probably never been. There's one guy that he reminds me of, and that was Adam Capeborn. Adam Capeborn, who's now over in the States, he had this incredible ability to be playing, and he would see both sides of the floor. He would see it as a coach, and he would see it as a point guard. And he really, really knows his X's and O's, and Ryan reminds me of him in a way, just the way that he sees the floor, and he sees 2 or 3 steps ahead. And, you know, often we'll go to the middle of the court and he's like, what do you got for me? And I'm like, I don't know, I've got nothing. He's like, yeah, well, I've got this. And yeah, he's pretty incredible, and I'm very lucky to be a part of his underneath his wing. So.
Do you want to have a team of your own at any level next? Is that the pathway for you, or do you want to stay involved as high as you can go rather than maybe taking a step back to take over a team?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's an interesting question, and I honestly don't have an answer for you. I think, and look, a part of this year for me was, one, being a part of a professional outfit again, and I am absolutely loving that. And I could definitely see myself, be it as an assistant coach, a floor up, or whatever you call it, at a part of a top level high performance program like this. Whether I want to take the reins myself, not too sure yet, but I did say to myself that if I can get through this year and still have that same drive and still have that same passion, then I absolutely would want to take over a team one day. And I can tell you, I've been away 7.5 weeks. I'm now back. It's been a lot of ups and downs over the course of this season, and I'm still really, really keen, still really, really loving it. So I would say that, I'd be looking to take over a team, depending on the level, at some stage in the future.
Well, that'd be exciting, I'm sure, for everyone who got the opportunity to play under you. I think it'd be awesome. And for Lynx fans, what's going to be really awesome for you all is that there's a game coming back to the Bendat Basketball Centre really, really soon. Saturday, March 5, against the Sydney Uni Flames. First time in 2 and a bit years that a game will be played for the Lynx at home. That you'll have your former captain in Lauren Mansfield will be playing against you for the Flames. Ex-Lynx youngster and current Australian Opal Charlotte Hill will be also in that team. And Flames coach Shane Hill, an Aussie basketball icon, will be coming to town as well. Must be pumped about that, having that opportunity to finally play in front of your own fans.
Oh, 100%. It's for such a long time, everything's up in the air, and you're like, well, are we going to get a home game, or what's happening with the borders? The team's going to be able to come over. Do we have to stay over here till God knows when? So to be able to come back and play in front of a crowd, and I think especially for some of the younger girls that haven't quite experienced what it means to be a Perth Lynx, we're special over here. We've got a great cult following, and you see that with the Wildcats, and we have the same with the Lynx. So for those girls that haven't played in front of such a loyal community, I think they're going to really, really love it. But I'm absolutely excited to coach in front of it.
So to have had those, I think it was 3 games they classified as home games in Ballarat, even though you're playing in a different state with no fans and living in that sort of environment. To have those home games here, will that be a big advantage with the ladder position that you've got at the moment to be able to really drive home that advantage from here?
I think so. I think anytime you can have the slightest bit of advantage over someone is obviously a really good thing. And it comes into factor a lot of things. Is sure, you've got your fans, you've got a venue that you're used to, you're sleeping in your own beds, versus now I've got a team coming over, they're flying, you're staying in hotels, you're cramming into cars to get to training, etc., or to games. There's absolutely an advantage, and look how big of an advantage. Some teams handle that a lot better than others. But I certainly think for us, that especially with the mindset for us to know that we've been away for so long, and now all of a sudden we've got this great opportunity to play in front of our fans. I think that's going to be a really, really big, like a mental switch in the girls' heads. I think it's going to be a really big advantage for us.
The schedule's been it's been crazy for you when you look at it. The season actually tipped off on December 4. You didn't play until January 2. Then COVID got multiple clubs and you had a 10-day break. And then you had 8 games in 26 days, and now you've got a 27-day break. It's impossible to really get your head around what that's going to be, because there's probably going to be 9 games in 25, 26 days again. How do you manage that?
It's very difficult to do. It's look, it goes back, I think, to that mindset that anywhere, anytime. We've got to have that mindset to be able to turn it on, turn the taps on whenever we're required to do so. So typically you would schedule backwards. We've got our game here on X date, and then we'll schedule backwards to try and put a decent program in, so that we get enough time on floor. The girls get enough time for their own shots or individuals, for their weight sessions, their gym sessions. And obviously then enough time for recovery. By having a floating schedule, it makes it increasingly difficult for you to do that. I know our coaching staff at times does struggle. However, when you get to this level, unfortunately, sometimes the roll of the dice doesn't go your way, and there's really not much you can do about it. And that's the way I think that we've had to approach this year, is that what can we do? We're living in a pretty crazy time. I've certainly never been a part of any team or been a part of any league that's had to go through this. But it's just having that attitude that, hey, we're grateful that we've got games. We're grateful that we've got a season. So we go out and we do our best. You know, like I always kind of say to a couple of the girls, you can have, I'll give you sort of a day to be frustrated or, you know, frustrated at whatever it might be. But then tomorrow you rock up and we're back into business because there's nothing we can do about it.
There's nothing you can do about social media either. And there was a fair bit of discussion about the non-playing of the game against Bendigo compared to Southside not playing against Canberra and them having to forfeit. And there are very different scenarios when you look at the two of them in depth. But a lot of people just looked at the two of them and went, you guys didn't have enough players. You got to have the game off. They didn't have enough players. They had to forfeit. What was your reaction to the criticism that came the way that it was handled by the league and for the clubs?
Well, if I can be honest, I'm not on social media. Well, I am, but I'm not on there, if that makes sense. So I'm going to have to sit on the fence for this one. But again, it's the type of season that we're in. It's again, I've never seen anything like this in my entire time of being a part of a professional organisation or a part of a professional league. It is what it is, and we move on from it.
Well, as we mentioned last week, given the lack of games, we haven't had any podcast votes for the Lynx MVP award that we have on the Dribble podcast. But so we'll just give you another update on where it sits from a month ago, which is Marina Mabry still leads on 15 votes, closely followed by Lauren Scherf on 13. Do you have an update on Marina's foot? How's she going?
We don't. It's certainly above my pay grade. We don't have any idea. But you could imagine she's been in quarantine. So I would, again, don't know, but I would hope to think she's getting that looked at in the next couple of days and being able to get back with our medical staff and our medical team. And then I'm sure they'll make a decision after that. But, you know, fingers crossed.
And you had a couple of development players who couldn't travel with you to Ballarat. Yeah. I'd imagine they're now back with the group, which must excite them.
Yeah, well, we're back with the full group. We gave the girls today off just to reunite with friends and family and whatnot after getting out so late yesterday. So we'll reunite with the group tomorrow morning. I've got a bit of an update with those girls that couldn't make the trip this morning, actually, and they've been here, they've been working out. And as you can imagine, they're young girls, so they're just absolutely chomping at the bit to really get back with the group and to reconnect. And it would have been a difficult time for those girls because you're kind of a part of it, but you're not kind of with it because you're not there. And obviously being on the road for 7 weeks, you become quite a tight group, you know, going through the adversity that you do. So look, I've got no doubt they'll fit in and they'll be super excited to get back on the floor.
Hopefully they get an opportunity. It would be great for them. Now, we have a segment on the Dribble podcast called This or That. Can't sit on the fence. Got to give a genuine answer. We put this question to Nick Kay before as well. Unwritten rules in sport. They can sometimes be good. They can sometimes be bad. And we saw the issue in college basketball where the Michigan coach wasn't happy about an unwritten rule being, in his mind, broken late in the match. So what do you think? Are they good for sport or do they cause more problems than they are designed for? And we should just focus on what the actual rules are.
No, I think the unwritten rules are. I think they're okay. I'm a pretty chilled guy off the court anyway. So something it's something I would probably laugh about, to be honest. But I think the unwritten rule is there for a reason and should stay.
Very, very good. Well, look, thanks for your time, Brad. Really appreciate you coming on. I know it's been a hectic couple of weeks for you in Ballarat and in quarantine since you got back here, but the team's on top of the table and hopefully things continue going really well and your fans can get out to the Bendigo Basketball Centre in that March 5 game and really celebrate the opportunity to see you guys play.
Beautiful. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate your time.
Well, that's it for the Dribble podcast this week. Remember, keep logging on to thewest.com.au for all your basketball news and pick up your copy of The West Australian. Thanks to Samantha.rogers for her production work, as always. Thanks to Nick Kay and Brad Robbins for their time. We'll be back next week for another episode of the Dribble podcast.